From hanging out with the convicted money launderer and drug dealer Slim Bouler to racking up crazy nicknames like Scarface from his teammates, here's all you need to know about the friendship that nearly ruined Michael Jordan's career. His airness is no stranger to rocky relationships, but there was one that stood out in every odd way possible. Ever heard of James Slim Bouler, Jordan's drug dealer buddy? If you think his feud with Charles Barkley deserves a spot in the Crazy Museum, then boy, you're not ready for what's coming your way. Here's a little trailer for you first. Gambling, media frenzy, criminal investigation, a bizarre drug trial, and an infamously seized $57,000 check. This friendship was one hell of a roller coaster ride. Now, MJ likes to keep a squeaky clean reputation. You won't ever hear him talking about feuds or conflicts in public. After all, he's got a billion-dollar empire to look after. But did you know that all of this almost came crashing down? Let me tell you what happened. His airness was asked to testify on Slim's behalf. Now, if it was any other guy, things would have been just fine. But James Slim Bouler was a convicted drug dealer, and boy, did he have a lengthy criminal record on him. Getting back to the drama, 1992 wasn't much of a fun year for Jordan. Can you blame him, though? The media couldn't get enough of the $57,000 check he wrote to his buddy Slim, wondering what the money was for. Why don't you take a guess? And no, it wasn't to buy drugs. Instead, it was to settle a debt MJ had wound up with after a few rounds of gambling. Quite the plot twist, am I right? In hindsight, it's not much of a surprise, since pretty much the entire world now knows about the champ's gambling problems. And even though Jordan doesn't like to admit it, there's enough news on this topic to make a documentary. But his friendship with Slim, yeah, things got really out of hand over there. Whenever these two hung out, best believe some sort of betting was happening, whether it was related to golf, poker, or anything else. Rest assured, hangouts with Slim pretty much always spelt trouble for our favorite NBA star, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that they had a negative impact on the six-time champ. After Jordan's check to Slim got seized, the connection between the two faced a similar fate. But who was this guy? Slim described himself as a scratch golfer, and his main source of earnings was playing high-stakes games with celebrities. Sounds like an interesting profession. But did you know the man also had a little something going on the side? When everything went south, it was revealed that Slim's persona as a golfer was only a front. The real green came from being a drug courier for two major cocaine dealers. This guy's turning out to be quite the multitasker. Returning to the champ and Slim's old pairing, they hardly had any shared interests outside of gambling and golf. And I'm not so sure about golf either, since they'd gamble on that too. And did you know they only played the sport 8 to 10 times? Not sure if I should be calling them friends even, but hey, they did sort of have each other's back that one time. When the government seized a check for $57,000, Slim's idea was to pass it off as a loan. He told the investigators that Jordan had given him the money for a golf driving range. Now, we know that the reality of it was far from that. This check was supposed to pay off Jordan's debts after a weekend of golf and poker with his buddy. So why did they go with the loan story? Get this, it came up during Jordan's testimony. According to the Star Guard, it was his immediate reaction to the media frenzy. At the time, he didn't want the public to know about his gambling addiction because it was painful and embarrassing for the player. Turns out, it was Slim's idea to go with the loan version. He knew that people would come snooping around, so saying it was a loan given to a buddy would be much more plausible. Thankfully for Jordan, he didn't face any criminal investigation during this entire saga. Oh, and here's something interesting. MJ wasn't the only star athlete that got sucked into Slim's troubles. In fact, it was also revealed that Lawrence Taylor, the Giants linebacker at the time, played golf with Slim, but he wasn't called to testify and skipped the whole courthouse drama. Speaking of, let's see if Jordan's spectacularness remained constant in court. Right off the bat, Jordan wasn't there willingly. The man could have thought of 1,000 excuses not to testify, but he didn't have another choice, considering the fact that he was brought to court under a subpoena. For those of you who missed out on suits or a law degree, that's when you have to appear in court, and no excuses accepted. With the legal talk out of the way, let's get back to how everyone was looking forward to him answering the big question. How come Slim had so much money on him? Of course, Bouler knew the answer, Jordan knew the answer, but everyone else. For all they knew, it was a big fat check of drug money. So, it's not a surprise that Slim forced his famous buddy to show up and support his defense. The charges against Slim Bouler were pretty severe. He was facing up to life in prison. Now, with all this going on, he kicked his defense up a notch. Slim would show up to court in golf clothes and even moved his clubs into evidence as Defense Exhibit 1. He just really wanted people to know that he was good at golf, which would, of course, explain the money. And having none other than the great Michael Jordan by his side was only going to help his case. Guess what? That's exactly what happened. He was acquitted on the drug charges, but money laundering. Yeah, he was found guilty of that, which landed him in prison for 8 years. You'd think the man would be ecstatic, because he only had to stay in prison till 2000. But folks, he was mad at Jordan for not sending a big bag of cash his way when he was released. Crazy, I know. Wait till you hear his justification. Apparently, MJ should have been thankful that Slim didn't tie him up with drugs. Now, whether there were any drugs in the first place to tie up Jordan with or not, that's a whole other story. Boulay also revealed the government was investigating a possible link between MJ and drugs. In case you didn't know, had something like this been uncovered, it would have been the end of the line for Jordan's career. So I'm guessing Boulay thinks that, in a way, he saved Jordan. In 2017, he appeared on an episode of The Last Dance saying, "Federal investigators came to me to try to knock you out. I mean, you ain't got no career if I cooperate with the government." He also said that since he refused to cooperate, the government took everything he had, so MJ should have sent some financial support his way. But folks, do you think that after such a terrible experience, Jordan would be tempted to carry on a relationship with the man? I'm gonna go ahead and say there were slim chances of that happening. It's clear that Boulay is still bitter about how things went down. He still blames MJ for everything, because the feds only got involved when Jordan's name popped up. So by sacrificing himself, Slim saved the NBA star's, but he didn't even get a thank you in return. That, and Jordan never spoke to him again. I guess that makes sense, but if you ask Jordan, he's undoubtedly gonna say that Boulay shouldn't have done anything illegal in the first place. But who's really at fault here? Now, even though Jordan didn't get convicted, doesn't mean he got out of this ordeal without a scratch. His reputation took the real brunt of it. You see, people like their favorite athletes to be crime-free. But his involvement with Slim, the house of cards came crashing down. And with that, his public image. Everyone now knew about his gambling problems, and even the NBA had to step in with their own punishment. Yikes. But you'd think that going through such a difficult time would make him hate gambling, forcing him to never go in that direction again. Sadly, that didn't happen. Instead, MJ just learned to live with the ridicule he got for his problem and continued doing that. Now, the situation might still be really dicey. Some people got a laugh or two out of it back then. Jordan's Chicago Bulls teammates didn't let it slide without some plain old-fashioned mocking. Why would they let it go? After all, they'd been given the perfect and rare opportunity to get back at the champ. He earned all sorts of nicknames in the locker room. I'm talking about Scarface and even Five Card Charlie. Pretty creative, right? Now, even though Jordan seemed to be okay with all this taunting, there were instances that showed how worried he was. The player was even discovered to be practicing at a firing range. It's clear that the investigation had him get super worried about everything. And there you have it, from racking up crazy nicknames like Scarface from his teammates to hanging out with the convicted money launderer and drug dealer Slim Boulay. That was all for the friendship that nearly ruined Michael Jordan's career.